interviewing a lot of those defectors, I was getting to know exactly what are the process to escape. Like I was becoming slowly an expert on how to escape North Korea. My name is Tim Franco and I'm a photographer based in Seoul, South Korea. I first moved to South Korea about 4 years ago, and I think like everybody who moves into the Korean peninsula, I was quite curious about North Korea. There's not much that I knew apart from the news you see on CNN and BBC about nukes and dictators. And even before starting a project, I really wanted to know about it more for myself. And then eventually it became a full-time project for myself. And then I started to hear about some journalist friends interviewing defectors, and I thought, okay, those defectors, they are the only person who actually had both lives, the life in North Korea, in a life in South Korea, and they kind of knew this kind of two sides of both worlds. So the first issue I ran into is when I wanted to tell the stories of these defectors, was that first of all, it's hard to find the one that will talk to the media or talk to photographers. And after that, even if they're willing to talk, it's hard to find the one that's willing to put a face in front of the voice. They're still afraid of North Korean spies living in the South. And especially if they're outspoken, they're kind of a little bit paranoid about what's going on with their life and what are they showing to the rest of the world. So we had to find a way to create a safe environment for them to come and talk to me and being photographed. So what I ended up doing is, with the help of the Foreign Press Center in Seoul, is I've created this studio space in their building, which is kind of an official building in downtown Seoul, where the defectors could come and feel safe about being there. And we created this kind of intimate place where we could do both interviews with them and then have this particular studio where I would actually get their photograph. So my first approach was to get closer to the defector, have really a close-up photo of their face. So when you hear the story or read the story, you can also find a way to read it on their face, and also because the photo was taken right after they were telling their stories, you could still read some of this emotion on their face. And I thought like getting as close as possible to their eyes and to their expression was a way to tell that story. What I did was I shot those portraits on a large format camera using those Polaroid films, but instead of using the Polaroid that you're usually supposed to use, I was using the negative that is created with the Polaroid, and by a system called the reclaim of Polaroids, I washed those negatives that are not supposed to be used. And that's the actual photo that I was using for the portraits. So by doing this process, not only there's two things that are important for this process. The first thing is because you're using that negative that you're not supposed to use, for me it was a way to translate this existence of the North Korean defectors in South Korea, which is not supposed to be, because of course North Korean cannot legally escape North Korea, and it's quite a long process for them to apply for a residency in South Korea. So that was the first way to kind of translate that feeling. And also because when you do this process, the images you get are often dirty, scratched, and you can observe some chemical spills. And for me, that was a way to translate the whole process that they've been through to reach South Korea. For some of them, it was just a question of a few days to reach the South, but that's very rare. For most of them, it could be weeks and even years before they find a way to reach South Korea through China, Mongolia, or Laos, Thailand. It's a very long and very difficult and very often very dangerous process to reach the South. So I really wanted to have this translated on those specific films that you get out of the Polaroids. So I went on this trip. It was kind of a fast trip. I couldn't really go to all the places I wanted to. And I already, by that time, I also already went to the border between China and North Korea and started this part of the project. So that allowed me really to take those photos and find a way to tell that context story of my project. Because you get so close with those portraits to the people, I felt like getting away far and showing this landscape of those places would be a perfect way to go together with the portraits. And I mean, it reminds us that the people living in the north are also just people like us, and they have the same problems, like what I'm going to do with my life, who I'm going to date, and it kind of brings us closer to the life in the north, maybe, and to this understanding of what's happening behind this giant curtain. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to tell the story.